Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.
The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Back to the Iran war, which, of course, is such an important national security issue. It's also an economic issue because it's affecting oil prices and interest rates and stock markets and so forth. Nothing really new has happened, which is by itself interesting. And now the question is, where do we go from here? President Trump has made a number of statements, but nothing seems to have panned out. So let's ask my very, very good friend, Ambassador Robert O'Brien, former National Security Advisor. He is presently the chairman of American Global Strategies. And Robert, thank you for doing this. So, I mean, what's happening? I'll be blunt, as a Trump supporter and as a war supporter, but I'll be blunt here. Right now, what I see is no deal, and I see no military bombing. What I do see is Scott Bessent's economic fury, the blockade, the embargo, seizing of financial assets, bleeding the economy dry, starving the Iranian financial system. That's working. It's working very well. Oil revenues, we looked at it on the TV show, Robert. Iranian oil exports are down from about 2 million barrels a day to under 500,000 barrels a day. That's the blockade. But I don't see, the president talks about a deal. I don't see any deal. And I don't think the president really wants to start military bombing. So I ask you, where are we on this story?
Well, you're 100% right with the work that Scott Bessent is doing and the work that the U.S. Navy is doing with the blockade is having a tremendous effect on the Iranian economy. And we have to go back, Larry, to first principles here. What was the original purpose of the campaign going back to Operation Midnight Hammer? It was to stop the Iranians from getting a nuke. And the president has not wavered on that. Some people have wanted regime change, which would be nice. The president said that would be great. We wanted to cut off the proxies in Hezbollah primarily, but also Hamas in Gaza. The Israelis have done a magnificent job on that. The Israelis are up on the Litani River in Lebanon, really taking it to Hezbollah. And we've degraded substantially the Iranians' ability to build missiles. So if you look at the president's goals, they've been primarily met except for the nuclear issue, and he says he's not going to stop until the Iranians give up their nukes. Now, what is going on, if we had increased bombing, we'd take out their economic ability to produce and export oil in the future. And we know that if you do that, that'll probably collapse the regime and turn Iran into a stand for the next, 50 years. And I think the president is hesitant to take that step and eliminate, 1 to 2 to 3 million barrels of oil a day from the world market at this time. So he's doing the slow squeeze, and the squeeze is working. And the Iranians are at the table. They're negotiating over their nuclear stockpile. But it's going to take some time. And the people that don't want to give them time are the Democrats and then the mainstream media. And they're trying to put an artificial deadline on the president to get results when he's just content to sit back and slowly squeeze them. And unfortunately, it has an economic impact on America with the midterms coming up. But I think we need to give the president time and Scott Bessent time to let this play out.
Robert O'Brien, why do you think we haven't moved more aggressively to open up the Strait of Hormuz with Project Freedom? We developed this channel, as the open channel, relatively open channel, close to Oman, right? Some ships have gone through, a very limited number, small amount of ships. But I would have thought, and I think many people would have thought, that Operation Freedom to reopen Hormuz and to tell Iran, you can't control. I would have thought we would have developed that, but we haven't seemed to. Why is it?
Well, I think that the reason is that the blockade is working so well, and Besant's economic theory is working so well at choking the Iranians, that if we actually re-engage in kinetic activity, that would always give the Iranians a temporary win and divert the attention of the Iranian population, the Iranian leadership from the negotiations and trying to get this thing done and trying to get them to give up their nuclear material, which is the key to going back to fighting. But if we go back to fighting, it's not. I don't think it's going to be limited to Straitler. I think at that point we take out Karg Island, we take out all the production facilities, we take out their export facilities, the rail depots, and maybe perhaps we should do that. And if the Iranians won't come to the table and make real concessions on the nuclear front, we're going to have to do that. But again, I think the president is looking at the long-term implications of taking 1 million to 3 million barrels of oil out of the system, a day, and that's going to cost people money.
About 2 million.
It's worth it to keep the Iranians from becoming North Korea with nukes. But if we could have our cake and eat it too, that's the best case scenario.
I don't think he wants a full-scale bombing, Robert. I don't think he wants it. And I don't think the Iranians. Look, these negotiations. I mean, I think Jack Keane is right. They're going to go on forever. That's what Iran does. They're just going to go on forever. Now, I love what Besant's doing. I mean, Besant is the best wartime Treasury Secretary since World War II. I said that at the Reagan Library, and I've repeated it on TV, and I'm saying it here on our radio show. He's doing the Lord's work, and it's working. And the Iranian economy is collapsing. Now, whether the crazy radical Islamic Revolutionary Guard cares is another matter. I mean, maybe that's the point, Larry. That's a brilliant point that you're making. Is that unlike the Venezuelans or unlike any other country that would come to the table and say no mas and put their hands up and go back to go back to doing business. The Revolutionary Guard, which controls Iran, they truly are religious lunatics, and they don't care about their people. And the question is Besant going to be able to put enough pressure on them that they have to play ball? And we'll see over the next couple of weeks. And I think the president is his inclination is to give that a chance. Yeah, look, I'm all for it. Here's one thing that I would never be in favor of. We must not give Iran any money at all. Whatever these negotiations are talking about, you read about $12 billion or more, $120 billion in assets that was. I wouldn't give them not a wooden nickel, Robert O'Brien. I mean, we can have a standstill on negotiations, choke off the economy with economic fury, all right, and hold off on other actions. But they should not get a nickel, right? Not a nickel.
100%. And going back to your statement, Larry, the Iranians have never won a war. They've never lost a negotiation.
Right.
They're like a New York real estate guy who's extending and pretending with the banks, and. They've run into Donald Trump, who knows that game very well, and I don't think he'll fall for it. But he's got his own real estate lawyers, Witkoff and Kushner, doing the negotiation. They're very familiar with these tactics. But having said that, the Iranians think they can get away with it, and they think the time is on their side. So, I think what we need to do is give Besant, give the president time. Don't fall in with the Democrats and the mainstream media, which are trying to put artificial deadlines on these negotiations. time is in our favor. The Iranians don't have time. We can survive a long time. We've got our own oil and gas. We've got energy independence, in part because of the work you did in the first term. And that energy independence and energy dominance and the deregulation that you put into place is what's allowing us to get through this crisis. The Iranians can't last. So we need to give the president time. But look, at some point, if the Iranians have to understand if this doesn't go well and they don't throw out their nuclear materials, then Jack Keene's position, your position, my position has always been, take them out, put another air tasking order together, and end this entire economy and send them back 1,000 years. But it'd be a shame to see that happen to the Iranian people. If
President doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't. I mean, you can even now. He makes many offhand remarks at press opportunities. He did it yesterday and the day before. He did it Thursday evening. I read it so carefully. I get the verbatim transcript from Fox News, and you can just see he's not. He really isn't talking about bombing. He doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to talk about a deal, okay? But there won't be a deal. I mean, Keene blew the whistle on Fox News. It was a big story in the New York Post this morning. Being replicated elsewhere. I don't think any. I tell you what, Robert O'Brien, stay with me. I got to take a commercial break, and I want to come back. I want to ask you about a whole bunch of other issues,
sure.
the enriched uranium and Israel and so forth. So you can help us through this, folks. We're talking to one of the smartest people you'll know, one of the best foreign policy people you'll know, and one of the calmest, even-handed national security advisors. That being my dear friend Robert O'Brien, who, as a side hustle, is now running. I'm sorry to say, as a side hustle, he's now the chairman of American Global Strategies, which is helping a lot of companies get through this period. I'm Kudlow. We'll take a break and come right back with Ambassador O'Brien.
Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.
No deal, no bombing. Operation Economic Fury is working, though, to crush their economy. Interestingly, Newt Gingrich on the TV show the other night mentioned that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who's running the economic embargo and blockade and offshore and literally seizing their crypto money up to $1 billion, which is great because these crazy Islamists try to get offshore so they can live a high life. Anyway, we're talking to Ambassador Robert O'Brien, former National Security Advisor, now Chairman of American Global Strategies. So, Robert, let me toss a few things at you. Some people are talking about a stepped-up Israeli operation, the so-called decapitation strikes. In other words, just take their leaders out. You've got the third or fourth level of leaders who've killed all the others, including Ayatollah Jr., and including these, crazy IRGS people. What about a decapitation strike strategy? What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think that if I was in the Iranian regime, I'd be living in a cave, and that might not even be safe. And so I think what's happening is I'm sure the Israelis, I'm sure the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service, which is very active in Iran and has agents everywhere, is keeping close tabs on where all these fanatics are living and working, and as soon as the balloon goes up again and we engage in kinetic action, I think the very first strike will be at the leadership. We've seen the Israelis perfect this with Hezbollah and the cell phones and the beepers and the pagers and walkie-talkies. We've seen it at the outset of this war when we took out the entire Iranian leadership when they were having a big meeting all together. So I think the idea of a decapitation strike is definitely on the table, and I think that right now during this interregnum of peace, that the Iranians think that they're bluffing us and extending us and stalling us and stonewalling us. I think patterns of life are being developed on all of the new leaders, and there's a database being put together in Tel Aviv, and the decapitation strike will take place at the outset of kinetic activity if again, the Iranians refuse to turn over the nuclear material.
Why don't we strike before some big bombing? Just hit them. Take them out.
We may. That option remains on the table.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Trump would like that. Trump likes that stuff, doesn't he?
We did that with Baghdadi. We did that with Soleimani. We did it with Maduro. We did it with the outset of this Operation Economic Epic Fury. So that option is always on the table.
One other point that interests me listening to the chatter this week, President Trump was talking at some length, actually. Let's see, Thursday evening. He was in the Oval, he's signing one thing or another, and of course the press was invited in, and he spoke on issues. Now, Robert O'Brien, he said, he's talking about the enriched uranium and, moving it out of Iran into the United States. And he's talked about how difficult it would be. He mentioned that only the U.S. and China has the equipment to do it. I don't know if this is, true, false, or whatever. Is what he said. And he said it would take several weeks and would be very, very difficult. So it just kind of that's always been a red line of his. All right, the denuclearization, yes, but getting the actual enriched uranium, which can be nuclearized, getting that out of Iran altogether, it just sounded like that's not going to be a red line demand anymore.
Well, it should be, and it still is as far as I'm aware. But look, the president is right. It's going to be difficult because it's about 1,300 kilograms of ore and material. And that has to go on planes, and with our airmen and soldiers and Marines, packing it up on the big cargo planes and flying it out of Iran to Russia, China, or America, the three countries that could process it and kind of deprocess it. And it's radioactive material, so it's we don't want to expose our pilots and our loadmasters in the back of the planes to harm. So it's a complicated operation. Look, there's no doubt it can be done. So to take that off the table for a second, this is not something that smart people in our military can't do. We can do it, definitely, and we should do it. And I think we will do it. But the president is right. It's a complicated task.
Were you?
It certainly requires Iranian cooperation to some degree.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Were you involved in the State Department or anything with the removal of enriched uranium from Libya?
So that was back in the Bush administration, and I was up at the UN when that operation was happening, and what happened there, Larry, is it wasn't just enriched uranium; it was all kinds of equipment, and machinery, and we thought it was going to take I think 7 C-130s, and the Libyans kept at the end of each day they'd open a new vault or open a new cave. It ended up taking us several weeks to do because there was so much more than we expected. And it was, kind of like Alibaba's cave. We clean out one cave, and they assumed we knew, and we're testing them, and so they'd say, okay, now we'll go to the next cave and the next cave, and we took a lot of material out of Libya, and it took significantly longer and many more aircraft than we expected.
Yes, well, there's a lot of lessons learned there. It won't be an easy task in Iran.
No, but it's a critical task, and the idea of leaving it in Iran and putting cameras on it or putting inspection on it, that just doesn't work, because at any time they can kick the inspectors out, turn the cameras off, both of which they've done, and go back to enriching the uranium. So we need to get the nuclear dust, as the president calls it, out of Iran.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it is.
All right. Well, I'm still supporting whatever. Ambassador Robert O'Brien, we appreciate your wisdom, as always. Thanks for giving us the time. Wonderful stuff, enlightening. Folks, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do our usual stock market half hour on the other side. Lots to talk about there. I'm Kudlow. God bless America.
Thanks for listening to The Larry Kudlow Show. You can hear The Larry Kudlow Show Saturday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
This week, come out to the ballpark as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park for a homestand on June 10th. For a 5-game series as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.